Have you ever wondered why the Japanese live such long lives? Well, in the US, despite advanced medicine and modern hospitals, the average life expectancy still stops at 77? I used to think it was because of their genes, but when a research team from Harvard Medical School followed more than 500 Japanese centenarians for 5 years, what they discovered left everyone speechless. It wasn't genetics, it wasn't medication, it wasn't supplements. The secret lay in their everyday movements, so simple that you might find it hard to believe. Yet those very movements activate more regions of the brain than any other form of exercise ever recorded. And those who maintain these habits have a 40% lower risk of dementia, keep their joints flexible for decades longer, and retain balance as sharp as someone 20 years younger. Can you imagine just a few simple motions every morning can preserve longevity, memory, and independence for life? Would you like to see how long you can stand? Interestingly, Sampo is also a natural lubricant for the joints. When you walk slowly, your feet make fuller contact with the ground, stimulating the production of synovial fluid, the oil for your body's hinges, as doctors call it. If your knees often feel stiff in the morning, just 10 minutes of Sampo could change that. The Japanese believe slow walking is a way to have a conversation with your body. And modern science now proves they were absolutely right. To practice, all you need is a small space, soft shoes, and a few quiet minutes. Inhale slowly for 2 steps, hold your breath for 2 steps, then exhale over 4 steps. Count silently, like a rhythm. When you do it correctly, you'll feel your heartbeat syncing with your breath. That's the sign your nervous system is resetting balance. You can do it indoors, in your yard, or at the park. But remember, don't use a treadmill, as the moving belt prevents your foot muscles from engaging naturally. And if possible, walk on soil, grass, or small gravel. Each step will activate more of your stabilizing muscles. Do you know why the Japanese always walk before breakfast? Because that's when the body's natural cortisol levels peak, allowing for deeper breathing and a stronger calming effect. Just 10 minutes each morning, and within a few weeks, you'll feel lighter, more alert, and sleep more deeply at night. It may sound simple, but for the Japanese, Sampo is a daily ritual, a ceremony that opens a day of vitality and clarity. And what I'm about to tell you next may surprise you even more, because the 5th movement, the exercise most Japanese people do right after walking, has been shown to slow joint degeneration and reduce chronic back pain by up to 55%. Can you guess what it is? Hold that thought, because in just a few seconds, I will reveal to you a secret that has existed in Japan for nearly a century: Radio Taiso.
Movement number 5. Radio calisthenics. Radio Taiso. Have you ever heard music playing across Japan every morning at exactly 6:30 a.m. when millions of people simultaneously raise their arms, bend their bodies, and stretch? It's not a military ritual. It's Radio Taiso, the radio calisthenics routine that has existed for nearly a century and to this day remains a secret behind Japan's flexible joints, strong hearts, and sharp minds, even well past the age of 80. At first glance, it seems like just a few light stretches, but when Osaka Medical University followed over 8,000 adults aged 60 and older who practiced Radio Taiso every morning for 5 years, the results made many doctors rethink what they knew. Those who practiced consistently had a 40% lower risk of falling, chronic back pain decreased by 55%, and they maintained almost the same shoulder and hip flexibility even after turning 80. Isn't it remarkable? Just 3 minutes each morning can produce the same benefits as hours of expensive physical therapy? So, what's behind this seemingly simple radio exercise? Science calls it dynamic stretching. It's completely different from the static stretching most people do. In Ragyo Tai Sol, the body never stops moving. There are no long holds, no pauses. This continuous motion increases the production of synovial fluid by up to 30%, as if you were lubricating your body's hinges every morning. When you stop moving, this fluid thickens, your joints stiffen, and we call that a sign of aging. But in truth, it's a sign of inactivity. Ragyo Tai Sol was designed to awaken the entire nervous system, body and breath, working in harmony. As you inhale, your brain receives the signal to prepare for action. As you exhale, your heart rate gently rises and oxygen-rich blood reaches every cell. In just 3 minutes, you awaken thousands of cells that have been dormant overnight. No coffee, no supplements, just a few movements that reactivate your body's own natural energy system. Perhaps the most fascinating part lies in when it's performed. The Japanese always practice Ragyo Tai Sol right after waking up before breakfast. That's because while you sleep, growth hormone, GH, peaks, making your muscles, tendons, and connective tissues most responsive to stretching. By exercising at this exact time, you're riding the wave of your body's natural hormone cycle, a principle medicine calls chronobiology, or the biology of time. Simply doing it at the right hour doubles the benefits. And if you've noticed, in Japan, office workers, students, even factory employees all practice Ragyo Tai Sol before starting their day. Not for show, but because they understand one truth. The body must warm up to avoid breaking down. Just as you wouldn't floor the gas pedal on a cold car engine, your body also needs to warm up each morning. Have you ever considered that your morning joint stiffness might just mean you haven't warmed up enough? If you want to begin, try this simple sequence. Raise your arms and inhale deeply, lower them as you exhale, twist your torso side to side, bend gently, and march in place for 30 seconds. It takes less than 4 minutes in total, but if you keep it up every morning, you'll feel a remarkable difference within a week. Many people have told me they feel lighter, clearer, and that their back pain disappeared without any medication. That's not magic, that's biology.
Movement number 4. Deep sitting. Shinkozuwari. Have you ever noticed that in Japan, even at the age of 70 or 80, many elders can still squat all the way down to the ground, chat with friends, pick vegetables, or tend to their gardens for hours without complaining of pain? Meanwhile, in the US, many people can barely bend down to tie their shoes without hearing a crack in their back or knees. We tend to think this is just a natural part of aging, that the body weakens, joints wear out, and squatting becomes impossible. But science says the opposite. The deep-sitting posture, known in Japan as Shinkozuwari, is actually the biological key that keeps their hips, spine, and pelvic floor strong well into their 90s. When you sit deeply, the hip joints fully open, the joint capsules stretch, and stiffness, the main cause of slow, unstable movement in older adults, is prevented. This posture also activates numerous small muscles around the ankles, a region often asleep due to years of chair sitting. These muscles control balance, helping you avoid falls when stepping up or bending forward. And perhaps most remarkable of all, Shinkozuwari decompresses the spine. As you lower your body, the pressure between vertebrae decreases, allowing nutrient-rich fluid to flow into the discs and nourish them. That's why the Japanese have lower rates of spinal degeneration and rarely require hip replacement surgeries. Have you ever thought that by simply changing the way you sit, you might actually save your spine? If you practice regularly, within just a few weeks, something remarkable happens. Your spine feels more supple, your hips lighter, and that voice in your head saying, "I'm getting weak," begins to fade. Your body isn't aging, it's simply waiting for you to reactivate the movements it once knew. And when you can do something as simple as sitting down and standing up without using your hands, you regain the most precious gift of all,
freedom in old age. But what happens once you've mastered deep sitting and want to take the next step, not just to stay strong, but to improve balance and prevent falls? That's when the Japanese move on to the next exercise, a motion so simple that Japan's national health insurance even covers it because of its proven benefits. Can you guess what it is? It takes only 1 minute, needs no equipment, yet can reduce the risk of hip fractures by up to 68%. The answer lies in a movement called ashi-agi, the one-leg stand. And next, I'll tell you why Japanese doctors prescribe this exercise as a fall prevention medicine for adults over 60.
Movement number 3. Ashi, one-leg stand. Would you believe that simply standing on one leg each day could extend your life and protect your brain? It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? Yet in Japan, doctors actually prescribe this exercise to patients over 60, much like how physicians in the West prescribe blood pressure medication. They call it ashi, meaning the power of the legs. What's extraordinary is that this practice doesn't just train the body, it trains the brain as well. The human body is designed to exist in a constant state of micro-imbalance. When you stand on one leg, hundreds of small muscles in your legs, hips, and core must work together to keep you upright. Your brain continuously calculates, sending thousands of corrective signals per minute to maintain posture. That's why this exercise is considered one of the most powerful forms of neuromuscular training. No machines required. When you stand, your brain, eyes, inner ears, and muscles must coordinate perfectly. It's this integration that preserves reflexes, agility, and the youthful sharpness of the mind. Have you ever noticed that older adults who fall frequently aren't necessarily weak? They've simply lost their ability to react quickly when balance slips away. In fact, every time you stand on one leg, you're training your brain to process information. Your eyes focus on a fixed point. Your inner ear measures spatial orientation. Your muscles make adjustments, and all of it sends feedback to the cortex. This forces the brain into full engagement, much like learning a new skill. That's why researchers at the Mayo Clinic concluded that the time you can stand on one leg is a better predictor of longevity than blood pressure or cholesterol. In their study, people over 60 who could balance on one leg for 30 seconds had the same mortality rate as those 10 years younger. Have you ever thought that your true age could be measured not by your birth year, but by your balance? The practice is simple. Stand near a wall or sturdy chair for safety. Take a deep breath, then lift one foot just a few centimeters off the ground. Focus your gaze on a single point and breathe slowly and evenly. Start with 20 to 30 seconds. Once you're comfortable, try closing your eyes. Your brain will then rely more on the inner ear and proprioception, the sense of body position. That's when the balance system becomes most active. In Japan, many people do this while brushing their teeth, saving time while turning it into a habit. You can try it too. One leg in the morning, the other at night. Just 2 minutes a day, yet it adds years of strength. Simple, isn't it? But the question is, will you try it tomorrow? But there's something even more fascinating that few people know. Once the Japanese master balancing on one leg, they don't stop there. They move on to a more complex habit, one that involves the entire body, demanding coordination, flexibility, and mental engagement. It's the act of sitting down on the floor and standing back up several times a day. A movement so simple, yet considered one of the most powerful whole-brain exercises ever documented in medical science. Have you ever tried sitting down on the floor and getting up without using your hands? If not, what comes next will surprise you, because being able to do that alone can add an average of 6 years to your life.
Movement number 2. Zasuwari, floor transition. Have you ever wondered why Japanese people, even in their 70s, can comfortably sit on the floor to eat, talk, or watch TV, while many Westerners struggle with back pain or numb legs after just a few minutes and often can't stand back up without help? The answer lies in a seemingly small habit with the power to transform the body. Zasuwari, the practice of moving from standing to sitting on the floor and back up again. They do it dozens of times a day, often without realizing they're exercising. What's remarkable is that every time they do it, they're not just training their muscles, they're training their brains. The human body is designed for seamless transitions, standing, sitting, kneeling, lying, and every shift requires the precise coordination of hundreds of muscles and joints. When you sit on the floor, you engage the entire neuromuscular system. The brain plans the sequence of movement, the inner ear maintains balance, and the muscles of the legs, hips, and back work together in harmony to prevent falling. These combined reactions stimulate the motor cortex and cerebellum, the two key regions that protect against cognitive decline. That's why scientists call this a whole brain workout. So why have we abandoned it? Simply because we've grown too accustomed to chairs? To understand this better, imagine this. Every time you move from standing to sitting on the floor and then back up again, you're performing a sequence of 8 to 10 complex motions, bending the knees, rotating the hips, maintaining balance, shifting weight, pushing upward, all requiring precise coordination and control. And if you do that 10 or 20 times a day, you're maintaining flexibility, strength, and quick reflexes without ever setting foot in a gym. This is why the Japanese are almost never afraid of falling. They practice falling and getting back up every single day as part of their natural lifestyle. Do you see now that the most effective exercise sometimes isn't something separate from daily life, but simply living in harmony with how the body was designed to move? The practice itself is simple. Stand upright, lower one knee to the ground, then the other, and sit back on your heels in a kneeling position. From there, you can shift into cross-legged sitting or sit slightly to one side. When it's time to stand up, simply reverse the process. Place one foot forward, shift your weight, and rise slowly. If you're not used to it, use a low chair for support or practice on a soft mat. The key is consistency. Just 2 or 3 transitions to and from the floor each day are enough to noticeably improve strength and reaction time. The Japanese don't count repetitions or follow strict sets. They simply live this way, sitting on the floor to drink tea, to chat, to watch TV, unintentionally training their entire body throughout the day. Do you realize that by simply changing where you sit from chair to floor, you might already be rejuvenating your body? And here's the miracle. When the body remembers how to sit, stand, and move naturally, the brain remembers youth too. The Japanese understand that true health isn't just the absence of disease, it's the freedom to move within your own space. Zasuwari perfectly embodies that truth. The simplest exercise, yet the most profound in the journey toward longevity.
Movement number 1. Tenagui Hibiki, the towel twist. Would you believe that with nothing more than a small towel, you could awaken your entire body and mind? It sounds unbelievable, but that's exactly what Japanese centenarians do every day. They call it Tenagui Hibiki, the resonance of the hand towel. Scientists at Taku University spent over 20 years studying this exercise, and their findings astonished the global medical community. People who practiced Tenagui Hibiki for just 2 minutes a day lived, on average, 7 years longer, had bone density equivalent to those 20 years younger, and maintained grip strength, a key predictor of independent living, well into their 90s. Can you believe that a simple twisting motion could achieve that? What puzzled neuroscientists most wasn't just its physical benefits, but how it activates both hemispheres of the brain at once. When you twist the towel, muscles from your feet, back, shoulders, and hands all engage, but the brain is the true command center. Brain imaging revealed that the left and right motor cortices fire simultaneously, a phenomenon rarely seen in other exercises. This synchronized activation builds new neural connections, improving memory, reflex speed, and concentration. In other words, each time you twist the towel, you're literally training your brain to grow younger. Have you ever heard of a physical exercise that could rejuvenate the brain itself? The method is remarkably simple. Take a long hand towel or small bath towel. Roll it up and hold it in both hands at shoulder height, about 18 inches, 45 centimeters apart. Inhale deeply, then pull the towel outward as if you're trying to tear it apart, creating steady tension. While maintaining that tension, twist your torso to the right, hold for 3 seconds, return to center, then twist to the left. Feel your entire body tighten like a drawn bow, from your neck and shoulders to your core and legs. Inhale as you return to center, exhale as you twist. The rhythm of your breathing creates a soothing cadence that activates the vagus nerve, guiding your body into a deep state of relaxation. Can you feel the warmth rising along your spine? That's the flow of your body's bioenergy moving in harmony. When molecular biologists analyzed blood samples from people who practiced Tenagui Hibiki, they discovered something remarkable. The concentration of myokines, proteins released by muscles during isometric contraction, was significantly elevated. Myokines act like the body's own internal medicine. They reduce inflammation, improve insulin sensitivity, promote neural regeneration, and protect cardiovascular health. Just 1 minute of towel twisting generates 4 times more myokines than 15 minutes of brisk walking. Sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? A small hand towel proving more powerful than a gym session. Yet it's true. The Japanese called Tenagui Hibiki the portable longevity laboratory, where each person creates their own medicine through movement. What's fascinating is that this exercise isn't about strength, it's about control. The pull shouldn't be forceful, but steady. The movement doesn't come from the arms, but from the body's center, the hara, as it's called in Japanese philosophy, the core of life energy. When the body twists evenly from side to side, the brain registers perfect balance between the left and right hemispheres. And when the brain senses balance, it releases serotonin, the hormone that stabilizes mood and reduces stress. That's why after practicing Tenagui Hibiki, many people report feeling lighter in spirit, sleeping more deeply, and waking up refreshed, as if their mind has been reset. Have you ever done an exercise that made you not just stronger, but also calmer inside? Imagine this. You practice all 6 movements each day: slow walking, gentle stretching, deep sitting, one leg standing, floor transition, and towel twisting. No equipment, no special schedule. 6 simple actions that together form a complete system of movement, keeping your heart strong, your joints supple, your brain sharp, and your spirit at peace. You could call it Japanese yoga, but in truth, it's a way of life, a way of living not just longer, but better, with vitality, clarity, and purpose. And finally, here's the question only you can answer. Will you start today, or wait until tomorrow to change the way you move through the rest of your life?